back at Ridley College. I am an OR from '03, and I want to talk a little bit about how I got to where I am, which is like not with much, but what has been most important for me and in this kind of non-linear path that I've been on is having a really good understanding of what it is that you bring to the table. And understanding that and kind of harnessing that power is something that will take you very, very far in life. And you might be asking, oh, Jill, what do you bring to the table? And I would say, thank you for asking. When I think about what it is that I have to offer, what I have to contribute, what I have to bring to the table, I think about three major things. The first thing I think about is privilege, which is really important. I am born into and carry with me a huge amount and varying types of privilege. And you might look at your life, or you might look at my life and think, wow, I'm so lucky. And it's really important to remember the distinction between privilege and luck. Because privilege is something that is given to you, is afforded to you by a system that exists in our society. And luck is when you get a pre-sale code to the Taylor Swift tour. Like they're totally two different things, right? Luck is something that just happens to you, whereas privilege is something that has been set up by a pre-existing system that we have in society that has a system of advantages and disadvantages based on how you are perceived. So I have white privilege. I have socioeconomic privilege. I was born into an upper middle class family. I have street presenting privilege. I have able-bodied presenting privilege. I have pretty privilege. Hold for applause. No? Okay, that's okay. And I hold all these with me. I carry all of these with me no matter where I go because I am perceived by a system in society that exists, that will always exist, and has always existed. So sometimes people will ask me, does that mean that you're ashamed of being white? Does that mean you're ashamed of being upper middle class? Does that mean you're ashamed of being pretty? And I say no, because I didn't choose it, and I can't lose it, right? Privilege does not afford you a choice. So I didn't choose it, and I can't lose it, so there's no sense in being ashamed of it, because privilege is not a choice. Privilege is a responsibility. So I am responsible for using my privilege, wielding my privilege to do good for others and not just for myself. It's really easy to think that I have all of these things that are working in my favor that I can use to further my career, that I can use to have a really fun, great, exciting life that is full of opportunity, have a family, have an entire journey that is kind of propped up by all of this privilege that I carry. And I gotta say, if that's the only way that you're using it, it's really lonely, and it's really empty, and it doesn't ever really feel as good as you think that it's gonna feel. Once you start to use your privilege to bring other people with you, it gets way more fun. So, privilege allows me to do two major things: make space and break rules. So, I have a lot of privilege, I have a lot of space. I have more space than I could ever possibly need. So I am gonna give that space to people who do not carry that same privilege, for whom the system does not benefit in the same way. And I can give some of that space, I can lend some of that space so that people who don't typically feel seen and heard can feel seen and heard, can have a platform that I'm used to standing on all of the time, and give some of that platform to them, and to use all of the things in the system that work for me to help work for other people. I can also step back. Privilege is a lot about the privilege of standing back. I don't need to be front and center all the time. I realize the irony of saying that while I am literally front and center. But I don't need to be front and center all of the time because I have this constant safety net of privilege that will always be there to catch me, and that safety net does not exist for everyone else. So I can step back, I can let other people take the forefront, people who have not benefited from the system in the same way that I have. And I can also break rules. And this is my favorite one because ask any of my teachers from Ridley, I love to break a rule. Breaking rules is the same thing. I have a higher capacity for risk because of the privilege that I carry. I will not face the same consequences as some other people will if they try to disrupt a space. So it's up to me to disrupt. It's up to me to say, you know what, things aren't quite as equal here, or things aren't working for everybody in the way that they should be. So I'm going to rattle some cages. I'm going to break things up a little bit, and I'm going to create a disruption that brings other people to the surface. It's kind of badass, if you ask me. So that's privilege. The second thing I carry with me are what I like to call soft skills. So I was very lucky to come to Ridley. I did my undergrad at Dalhousie University in Halifax. I now work for 28th Governor General of Canada, David Johnston, at the Rideau Hall Foundation, a national charitable organization that works across the country to put Canadian excellence on a global stage. And I am dangerously underqualified to do any of that. But I have soft skills. I have communication skills. I have leadership skills. I am generally a good hang. And this is so important. Being the type of person that people want to have in the room is more important than I think anybody really prepares you for. I can have the exact same qualifications. I can have the same grades. I can have the same resume. I can have completed the same courses as somebody else. And if I bring these soft skills, these kind of intangibles that were not really taught in a traditional classroom into the room, that will make the difference for me. So when I promote soft skills, when I talk about soft skills, it's because these are things that you can do to set yourself apart, to make yourself a fully formed 360-degree individual that go beyond just being a great student, being a great athlete. It is something that is kind of like a magical extra ingredient. So some examples. I always like to eat the frog. I don't think I need to say more, but I will. So Mark Twain, I'm paraphrasing a quote from Mark Twain. It says, we have tasks every day that we have to do, some that we enjoy doing, some that we really avoid and make us kind of uncomfortable and, oh gosh, this is this thing I have to do. But if you start every day by eating a live frog, everything else that you do after that will seem much easier. So take the thing that you don't want to do the most and get it done first thing in the morning. And that will make your day easier. And the best thing that you can do is to eat someone else's frog, which sounds weird, but there's something here. If you have a teammate, if you have a boss, if you have anybody that you are looking to forge a connection with, if you're looking to create a stronger team, and you know that there's something that they don't want to do, you know that there's something that is the task that they look forward to the least, step up and do that task. And it is like a superpower. And this can carry through. This can carry through to your friendships. This can carry through to your relationships with your family members and other people in your community. If you are the person who comes in and eats the frog, you are universally beloved, right? So that's another thing to do. I'm fortunate enough to work with David Johnston, who talks a lot about trust. He wrote a book on trust, 20 Ways to Build a Better Country. And he talks about trust being the glue and the grease, right? So the glue that holds everything together and the grease that makes everything work smoothly and quickly. So if you are a person who makes yourself worthy of trust, if you are somebody who can come into a room and can conjure that feeling of holding it all together and making it all work smoothly, that is, again, a superpower. It is so, so important. And being trustworthy means, yes, protecting confidences and things like that, but it's showing up. It's staying true to your own values, and it's also knowing when to call in for help, when to say, I don't know what I'm doing, when to use your privilege to help other people. Trust encompasses so many different things. And it also, there's a quote that says, trust comes in on foot and goes out on horseback. Or an updated version, which is to say, trust comes in on foot and goes out in a Ferrari. It is very slow to build, and it is instant to lose. So it is so much less work to just continue to be a trustworthy person than to try to have to rebuild trust once you've lost it. But it is the glue and the grease. It is something that is a soft skill, but is immeasurably important. In the boardroom, in the locker room, in the schoolhouse, no matter where you are, trust is kind of the crux of everything that holds it all together. So those are our soft skills. The third thing that I think that I bring to the table is openness to change. I have been on a very nonlinear path. I have taken zigs and zags and twists and turns, come across lots of challenges, come across lots of hurdles, and it took me a while, but I think that when I would face a challenge and face a hurdle, I would be filled with fear. We've talked a little bit today already about fear and how it can make you feel that saying no is to protect yourself, right? I don't want to do the wrong thing. I don't want to choose the wrong path. I don't want to let anyone down. I don't want to disappoint anybody. And saying no can feel like a cool way to protect yourself from any of those things happening. And I did that for a while. I did it for like longer than I should have. And I felt really stuck. I felt like kind of like a side character in my own life. Things were not exciting, things were not moving. And when I was able to switch from the no to the yes, really cool things started happening. And it starts really small. Saying yes to things like, oh, hey, I read this really great book about leadership. Do you want to borrow it? Yes. I'm going to a lecture tonight to hear somebody talk about biophilic urban development. Do you want to go with me? Yes. Do you want to come and speak at your school after your 20-year high school reunion and talk to people who you know to be excellent, who you know to be so full and brimming with potential? Yeah, I do. And when you say yes, your doors just fly open, and you are never going to end up in the place that you thought you were going to. You are never going to be on a path that is recognizable to you. It's going to feel a little scary. It's going to be different every time. And that is what is going to make you a whole person. That is what is going to make you somebody that is not just a good student, not just a good athlete, but you become a community member. You become part of something, and you become somebody who is resilient and adaptable. And again, these are things that is not able to be captured necessarily in a textbook or on a laptop, but it's something that the more you go through life, the more you learn, and having this growth mindset, having this feeling that anytime there's a challenge, it's actually just an opportunity. Every time there's a failure, it's just an opportunity to learn. And if you can say, I don't know, can you explain that? What does that mean? That was something I was scared of too, because I'm like, well, if I say I don't know something, then I'm gonna be like exposed as this fraudulent imposter, and everyone will find out that I'm just like 3 raccoons in a trench coat. But that's actually the opposite of what happens. The more that you put your hand up to say, I don't know, what is that? Can you explain that to me? The smarter you look. And I always thought that it was the opposite. And so I never asked questions because I wanted to maintain this like very polished veneer of somebody who knew everything. And that is an incredible barrier that really makes you feel very stuck. So having that growth mindset and thinking like every day is an opportunity to learn. I'm always like reaching for that next monkey bar on the playground. And I'm growing every day and I'm learning every day. And I didn't stop learning because I left school. I didn't stop learning because I left high school or left university or learned everything, all the hard skills that I needed to learn at my job. I was kind of like a fake it till you make it kind of a person. I do have to, there is a disclaimer. Is anybody planning to study medicine or engineering? You're not allowed to fake it till you make it. Please don't do that. Just, yeah, we would like all of our doctors and engineers to be fully qualified. But everybody else is allowed to do it. And it's something that will make your life so much deeper, so much richer, so much more interesting if you stay curious and you stay open to change. So, privilege, soft skills, capacity to change. This is what I bring to the table, and I bring it with me everywhere I go, and I think I'm a pretty good hang. Thank you very much.